Okay, we're going to talk about propane stuff. The stove obviously uses propane. You'll want to get a lighter like this to start it. Starts right up, so it's a 3-burner stove. You want to obviously make sure this is off and the water heater, I guess, is off when you're refilling. Refilling would be outside. Another note, and most places know this, is to only fill up to 75% because the gas will expand. So that means that it'll only go to about show full at really 3/4 of a tank. So keep that in mind. Also, just to note, the refrigerator will run off of propane. We'll want to turn that off when filling up, but this is the only appliance that will really work when you're driving. Mostly because it's shielded outside, but supposedly the water heater won't work when you're driving or moving, so keep that in mind. So also, while we're here, this is where the fan is, especially while you're cooking. You can turn this fan on, and it pulls it out to the side of the vehicle, and obviously is taking any fumes. Also, so you know, there's another vent here if you want to get some fresh air. Just make sure that it's closed when you're driving. So you'll probably kind of hear it rattling or whatever if you're driving. So anyway, those are a few things about the propane. To turn the water tank on and off, it is located right here. So it's just a little switch. It's red when it's turned on. In fact, I can hear some gargling and stuff. So anyway, that's where the water tank is. So.
And it heats up really hot.
Really fast. If you're
really
gonna ever
fast.
boil some water, I'd make sure that your water tank is good, and grab some nice hot water and finish boiling pasta or whatever you're cooking.
It will heat up the water faster than the stove will.
Okay, so in case of cold conditions, which we try not to rent it out, during extreme cold seasons, but there are a few things that this RV has. It does have some holding tank heaters in case that you're in a cold situation. You can turn this on. I would appreciate it if you did call me and let me know if there's some extreme cold weather for a day or two. Then we might want to blow it out, and I could walk you through the procedures of how to do that. While we're here, I'll just show you that here's where the water pump switch is. So this is turn the water pump up. You kind of hear it in the back running, and this also tells you the water levels, my battery condition, my gas levels, any fresh water, black water, gray water. So right now my gray and black are empty. Fresh water's down pretty low, but that's enough actually for me to travel for a day or two. Actually, I do need to put some propane in it, so that's where those levels are. Okay, this is where the thermostat is. Now notice this one's in the front of the coach. The AC unit is actually sitting right above you. There is a thermostat in the back, but that would only work if we had a second air conditioner in the back. So this is the one that you're going to use. You just flip this switch down to turn on to heat. It will take a minute, but you'll hear the furnace fire up with propane. You got to make sure your propane is on. And then a fan will blow. So that is pretty cool. This will work if you don't have to have the generator running or anything. This just works off the battery. It's just really operating a small fan, and I've tested it, and I'm able to run the whole night with the heater on if you need to, without any shore battery, just drawing from the batteries. Now that does drain the batteries. You'll want to charge them up. Of course, when you're driving, it's charging the batteries. So anyway, that's kind of something to note. The fan and cool, you want to be plugged in. Well, I should say you want to be plugged into 30 amp power in order for the air conditioning to work. If you want the air conditioning to work while, say, you're driving, then you're going to want to make sure that the generator is running to be able to run the AC unit. Also, something to note is that it will turn off at 1/3 or 1/4 tank level, so that you don't totally drain out of, or run out of gas while, say, you're parked or something. So anyway, that's where the controls on here. You can operate the different operating temperatures and speed of the fan over here. So that's the thermostat. All right, the refrigerator. This is a great refrigerator. Just a couple notes. automatically it should keep the temperature around 40 degrees. There's a little thermostat. I just kind of have it sitting wherever. Let's see. There is this little handy tool. If you have milk and stuff like that in here, this kind of keeps things from sliding in. So when you open the door, because things are shifting around when driving, doesn't kind of fly out. So
it helps, but it doesn't work perfectly.
yeah, it's not perfect, but always be mindful when you're opening the fridge, especially after driving. You know, I always kind of
Open it slowly.
open it slowly. Don't put a lot of heavy weight in the door either. So just keep that in mind. What else can I say? Oh, to set the temperature, this one does have a temperature set. You're just gonna press this. Right now it's on 3, and then you could just keep pressing it to go up. Just makes things a little bit colder, or maybe you have more items in there. You don't want to pack your fridge too much because it actually needs the air movement for it to get the proper temperature setting. Another thing to note is don't keep the door open all the time. Keep it shut as much as you can. I mean, it is a small fridge, so yeah, keep the door shut. So same with the freezer. So
Also, you want to keep your RV as level as possible. And a main reason for that is the fridge. The fridge will freeze up if you're parked on a hill for any amount of time.
especially when it's operating on gas mode, it's best if the RV is level. So yeah, something to keep that in mind, especially for long term, or for several days. Get the RV as level as possible.
Or even for several hours.
Yeah.
The leveling can be important for the fridge.
Okay, this is where the fire extinguisher is handily located. Now, keep in mind, this is not to be used for putting out a campfire. So just use good old water, whatever, not for campfires. So you could just pop this thing off and pull this back, pull this pin out, and then you'll be able to squeeze it and aim it and do all your fancy stuff. Well, you'll never need to use that. So that's the fire extinguisher. While we're right here, this is to operate the step. Something to keep note, notice the step did not retract. This is only when the door is shut that this will retract in and out. Right now, I like to keep it on here because I'm not parked in anything like a parking lot. So I just leave it off. And then that way I don't have to wait for the step to retract every single time I open and close the door. So that's what that switch is for. If I'm in a busy parking lot, then yes, I will turn it on, and then when I shut the door, it's going to retract the step. Also note, when you start to drive, it automatically will retract the step. So you don't have to worry about that when you're driving. It will just do it automatically. Also, this is how you can disconnect the main battery to this one's to the coach. And so if for some reason you want to do that, or you're not getting power to the coach, then this is where you would connect it or disconnect it. So connect, disconnect. Same with the chassis battery. This is more used for storage, so you guys hopefully don't need to be playing a lot with this, but for some reason if you're loss of power, just make sure maybe the kids were playing with these buttons or whatever, so just press the connect button to reconnect everything up. So okay, let's get down to business. We've got some holding tank treatment. You could just flush this. You just drop the whole thing down into the toilet and flush it. To flush, you kind of pinch this thing and pull back, and that's gonna fill up with water. I don't have the water tank on right now, so that didn't do a whole lot of water, but anyway, that's how you flush. It uses special toilet paper, so we've got it fully stocked with toilet paper, but in case you do run out, you can just buy it at Walmart in the special RV section, and it's special paper that I guess dissolves a little bit better so it doesn't stick to the sides of the tank. So also there's a vent up here, and this one has a fan. Make sure that's closed when you're driving. So I'm standing in the shower, and I'm 6'6", and it barely fits me. A couple notes: don't be showering while driving or while the RV is moving. Also, don't store stuff in here. We made that mistake once and got all of our stuff wet. So don't store stuff in here. The shower fiberglass is fragile. So thank you. Okay, we're going to talk about propane stuff. The stove obviously uses propane. You'll want to get a lighter like this to start it. Starts right up, so it's a 3-burner stove. You want to obviously make sure this is off and the water heater, I guess, is off when you're refilling. Refilling would be outside. Another note, and most places know this, is to only fill up to 75% because the gas will expand. So that means that it'll only go to about show full at really 3/4 of a tank. So keep that in mind. Also, just to note, the refrigerator will run off of propane. We'll want to turn that off when filling up, but this is the only appliance that will really work when you're driving, mostly because it's shielded outside. But supposedly the water heater won't work when you're driving or moving, so keep that in mind.